mind, I don't think I can share my screen with y'all. Which is gonna take a second. So again, just open up your phones and be like, whoa, look, we're on the stream and watching the stream. Meta. Yeah, Nathaniel, if you want to do kind of the same thing,
I'm also
that way we can see what's happening a little bit as well. We're going to go off center here for kicks. And because
forgot our Twitch channel name for a second.
just Robomaster NA.
There we go.
Alright, let's make sure that fixed it. Are we live? Are we going? Ah. Well, yeah, it's a stop. I think as soon as I close the Discord, it's going. Hi, everybody.
Alright.
That's a heck of a delay. There's no way you can. Hey everybody, how's it going? Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you for putting up with our minor technical difficulties, but it's 7:02, we're here, you're here, and we're really excited today. Obviously Nathaniel's with me, back again.
I'm back. It's been a
Very
while, guys.
exciting, and he's brought with him a couple of the members from one of the newest RoboMasters North American teams from the University of Texas.
Yeah, we're really glad to have them, this being their first year, and we'll see them compete in the 1v1 competition, I believe. So
Awesome. Great. Well, let's jump right into it. Welcome, UT. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Welcome.
Hi. There we go.
there we go.
Cool. So go ahead. I guess I'll start. I realized as we were getting ready that because you're all new to RoboMasters, probably you're not the only ones that need to introduce yourself. So I'm Preston Kuna. I've been on RoboMasters at Texas A&M for 4-ish years now. I lose track because of COVID. 3.5 years. We'll count COVID as a half year. But I've had the opportunity to do a lot of the English commentary and streaming for RoboMasters. Traditionally, I was a hardware team lead for our standard robot. and in the founding group of our team. So I was where y'all are at. Where at the beginning I kind of did a little bit of everything, but found a happy spot in the mechanical area. Nathaniel, you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Nathaniel Speed, and I've been in RoboMasters since the beginning of August of 2019. I've been a mechanical lead, I've been a hardware designer, I'm now an electrical designer, and competed it last year in RMUL 2021, was a driver for a robot, went through the entire competition. I also commentated for RMUC, and I've been in this for a while now, and it's great to see so many more teams that are now joining in the North America regionals.
Yeah, so that's us. Why don't y'all go around in any order, because I don't know if you could see yourselves yet, but go around in any order, introduce yourselves, tell us obviously what your name is. We already know you're from UT. We already know that you're with the team for the first year, which is hype. But tell us, what's your major, kind of what's your role on the team, what do you do, who are you? Give us the rundown.
Okay, hi, I'm Yuki. I'm the team lead, and I work on the electrical team.
Cool.
Hey guys, I'm a Mechie major. I'm leading the mechanical team, and I work on the mechanical team.
Alright.
Hey everyone, I'm Eddie. Obviously, it's my first year on Roadmasters. I'm a first year EC major, and I've been doing a lot of the programming for our team right now.
Fantastic.
That's great. So, I'm always curious. I asked Yibo last time we had one of these podcast style things. How did y'all hear about RoboMasters? I'm trying to get a pulse on kind of the flow of RoboMasters into North America. So, how were y'all exposed to it, and then what got y'all to form a team?
So, funny story. We didn't actually. None of us were one of the founding members. Basically, one guy last year was like, we should do RoboMasters, and we're part of this club called IEEE RAS, and we have a ton of other robotics teams and projects that are going on right now. But so he formed the team, and then all of us kind of just got pulled into it this last year, and then going into this year.
Awesome.
So yeah. So we didn't. I don't think I've personally ever heard of RoboMaster outside of of our org.
Okay. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. That's kind of how it goes. That's kind of how it starts. It's always one dude who's like, dude, RoboMasters, or woman, one person, who's like, man, RoboMasters is awesome. And then they grab their friends, and then their friends' friends. I was just in a lab group with one of the guys who was friends with the guy that really wanted to start a RoboMasters team. He was like, Preston, don't you build drones? And I was like, yeah, I've built a couple. He pulled me on, told me he would give me a bunch of money to build a drone. Needless to say, we did not have the money for that in our first 2 years, so I never got to start building the drone. I got put somewhere else, and then Brandon on our team came in, built a wonderful drone. Did a much better job than I ever could have, but luckily, I never got to prove that he did a better job than I did.
This is true.
There's no way to definitively say that the drone is better than it would have been. But very cool. Very, very cool. So your team started last year. Is that right? And then you're competing this year for your first time. So how long have y'all been working as a team? From the first time you finished all that red tape and your team is officially established by the university until this competition will be a year, 18 months, 10 months?
The funny thing is, I think everyone that worked on RoboMasters from the previous year, I think only me and Yuki are still on the team. And I think everything we did last year is more of we didn't really do much work because it was COVID. We were all at home. We couldn't really get much done really. So I think a month or 2 months in, kind of just stopped existing. And right now it's just me and Yuki. We're really the only two people that are left over from that original team.
Yeah, COVID restrictions really put a hamper on a lot of teams last year, and I'm glad y'all made it out of it to come into this year.
Yeah. That's great. All right, well, understandable. definitely. I think every team that competes in RoboMasters at one point will say, "Well, we worked on it a lot, but not a lot of the, or not a lot of that content carried over." Right.
Yeah.
So thinking about your current team, right? You've sent me some pictures. We'll look at them here in a little bit. But your team is, well, we'll throw it up right now. Your team is relatively large for a newer team.
Yeah, but how many members is that? It's like I'm gonna ballpark it and say 20.
Hold on one second. Let me make sure that your audio is in the chat. It's going to be audio output capture. I'm on it. Here we go. All right, there you go. You should be good now. Go ahead.
Okay. So another funny story. Most of these people, so this was during our first, I think, hardware meeting on our last semester.
Whoa. So pause. Are you telling me this picture is just hardware?
This was just the interest that just hardware.
This is hardware members, or this is hardware? This is a hardware meeting with a bunch of prospective recruits.
Perspective. I think
Perspective.
Okay. All right. I was about to say, dang, y'all say you didn't get anything done during COVID, and then you show up with a 40-man hardware team just rolling in year one. All right. Go ahead.
I wish. We really haven't taken any team photos. I'd say currently people who show up to meetings every week and put in a lot of the work, say about 10. Is that right?
Okay.
I'd say, yeah, probably around 10-ish.
Yeah.
10, 15.
Yeah.
We
got a good 7 to 10 really core members,
yeah.
And then we got a few that come in every 2 weeks or something.
Yeah, chat. I know there's a couple of y'all out there that are in the chat right now. They're watching live. Thanks for being here. Throw in the chat. How many members would you say RoboMasters is almost a personality trait? Okay, we're not saying it's a positive thing or a negative thing, all right? But for Nathaniel, RoboMasters is becoming a personality trait, all right? If I saw his Tinder profile, I wouldn't be surprised if it said RoboMasters 2022. And I love it. I'm here for the hype. But that is kind of how these teams work, right, Nathaniel? There's 7 to 10 members that really have the drive, and they're there, and they're at every meeting, and y'all don't sleep, and it might be synonymous with our down bad gang or whatever.
You reach the point where you're working on it so much that when you're not working on RoboMasters, you almost feel somewhat, I don't want to say empty, but it's almost like there's not any. You could be doing something else, but you always want to be doing RoboMasters.
# mental health awareness. Thank you, Nathaniel. Guys, if you feel empty when you're not at a RoboMasters meeting, please seek help. There are hotlines you can call.
I'm currently in our office right now. So Saturday night, that's what I'm doing.
Oh my goodness. That's the grind, though. I'm proud of y'all.
I get done doing homework, and I'm like, I could rest and think of time for myself, but no, I gotta work on CAD always, and I need to work on PCB design and stuff like that. RoboMasters is always in my brain.
Well, it's April, so now is the time. Now is that time for the 24/7 grind.
Yes.
But that's great. I don't even remember what I had asked you about when I interrupted to go on this tangent about your 7 to 10 members. But I applaud those 7 to 10 members. They're important. There's definitely typically a smaller core group, in all of our RoboMasters teams that really hold the team together and make sure stuff actually gets done. I know on our team usually, that's the same group you'll see the week before competition at 2 a.m. at Kirby's house, ordering pizza for the third time that day because we kept planning on finishing and taking a break and going and getting food, but then we didn't, so we just sent someone out for food. I think I gained 3 pounds last year. Anywho, really off topic. That's cool. Your team sounds great. What would you consider your team's biggest strength? So when you're starting a new team, it's really hard to be well balanced. Our team's been here now for 5 years, and I'd say we finally are getting a good hardware, electrical, comm-sci balance.
Definitely.
We were really mechanical heavy when we started. and then we got really code heavy like year 2, and then we kind of evened out. You know. So for your own team, what would you say your team strength is, kind of member wise?
I think we're actually a pretty balanced team right now. We have a pretty good split between like hardware people and electrical software people. Obviously as a new team, we're learning a lot as we go, but
Yeah.
so far I think it's a decent split. So
All right. You say
it's not too
that,
bad.
but I set you up for it. I set you up for the fall by ignoring them. What about business though? Because
Ooh.
it is so hard to recruit business people. Okay,
It is
yeah,
incredibly
you need to
difficult.
recruit electrical engineers, computer science, whatever. You just put a fancy robot on a table at your whatever event you have at the beginning of the year, and then you stand behind the table and you say, "Hey, we build 7 robots. We might go to China. We shoot real things. It's super cool. Computer vision, machine learning." You get to throw out all the buzzwords. Boom, you have like 400 applicants. The business team. Our team has tried so hard. We had team members show up to our like open house day in suits and not stand by the robots and just go pass out flyers to people to try to look business oriented. How's it going with? Would you still consider yourself a balanced team when including the business team?
I guess we are the business, like the engineers are
Yeah.
the business team.
Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. At least you're not making me feel terrible about our own team's inception. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
For the first couple years, that's 10 out of 10 how it goes.
For having such a large business school here, it's hard to recruit business students. It's hard.
We're getting there. We're getting better at it. Our business team now exists, and we're very grateful for that, and we love them very much. We're starting to get sponsors, like for realsies, which is cool.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting. There's all these rumors about our dues might go down soon so that it costs less to be in RoboMasters. They're vicious lies, but you know, the rumors are nice. They make you feel excited about next year. Robot-wise, what would you say your biggest strength is? Like, you're really, like, your drivetrain's going to kick butt, or you've already got a computer vision algorithm that, like, can predict the spinning of the UW robots, and you're just going to be firing left and right, and it's just going to, they're going to bounce up and then hit the armor panel again for 1 extra damage. Like,
yeah.
What would you say your robotic strength is?
You guys have anything? Eddie and Yuki? On like the
Just be confident.
Yes.
Wow.
He got
Yeah,
a
we've got a really great vision program. It's totally working. We totally have one.
Vision is ambitious for a first year. It's definitely ambitious.
Anywho, I know what y'all's strength is. Let's take a look at it.
I
I asked y'all to send me some pictures of your team and such, and you sent me a firing test video. Yeah, and again, I think I need to add your audio, but don't worry, everyone got it done. There it is. Boom, you're back. So I want to talk about this video. I'm going to pause it a couple times. First of all, I've looked at it like 10 times, and I have designed several standard robots, and I still don't understand what the projectiles are coming out of. I see a phone on the floor, and I see some guy's hand holding what looks like a hopper, and then I see what looks to me like the cross-section of a barrel. What the heck is this? It fires really well.
Super accurate.
What is it?
All right, so the thing on top you see the guy holding,
I'm
that's
gonna
the
zoom in.
hopper. we have.
Enhance. This works. Okay.
Um,
It's an iFixit kit. It's not a phone.
Oh.
Yeah, it's
It doesn't actually tell me anything about the mechanism, but we're getting there.
They know.
it's kind of scuffed. This was like the very first shooter test we've ever done. I think with like automated feed and everything. So
Yeah.
we're really surprised that it works as it did. I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting it to like kind of just die out after like 2 or 3 balls, because we have the compression set pretty high. Like I think we had like a 3mm compression or something, which is pretty high compression, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as far as the design goes, it's really just like 2 parallel plates, right? We don't have the actual barrel on there in this test. In the video, I think we had that 3D printed because we don't
Yeah.
have the actual like DJI barrel.
Yeah, the speed monitor module.
Um,
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, And so that the shooter test you see in the video is without the barrel, and normally the barrel would go underneath, like the two little on the two parallel plates on the video. Like you see those two, like I don't know, those two plates jutting out from the I guess the middle of the plate. It's really hard to.
Yeah, your hopper. I know
Yeah.
the plates. I can see the plates.
Yeah.
It's the ones that look kind of brown on either side.
Yeah,
Alright.
that's just laser cut wood. For now, for prototyping purposes, we're probably gonna either machine them out of aluminum or polycarb for the final thing. But as far as design goes, it's really just a straightforward like agitator design, gravity fed down into the shooter, and it works surprisingly well.
You guys should be super proud of that. Getting a feed mechanism that doesn't jam and that's smooth was definitely the part on all of our robots that took us the longest. Like I know at this point, A&M has a really great feeder system on all of our robots. Brandon has put a lot of research into the one for the drone. It can fire literally 1,000 rounds without jamming in a row, which is crazy. The standard last year, we ran a bunch of tests and it never jammed. Eventually, we melted the PLA that our flywheels were mounted on and our robot exploded, but it didn't jam. So people will say I did a bad job, but really,
I mean, it didn't jam.
it's our barrel melted, okay? So like props. I was really impressed when you sent that. Just how quickly y'all were able to find a feed system that doesn't jam. Can I ask how many balls were in the hopper?
We shot, I believe, 100 or 150.
Plenty. That's plenty for RMUL. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's however many you guys gave us. Thanks for that, by the way.
We're still working on the feeder though. It still jams occasionally, but
Mhm.
I know we have like 2 or 3 people that's been working on the feeder every week, and it's been getting better and better. They've been changing the design. Like I sent you a CAD of the robot
Yeah.
earlier, and you can see it later in the CAD. The hopper looks a bit different than how it did in the video.
Yeah,
That's just
let's
because
take a look at that for 1 second. Here we go. So here is that CAD that you showed us. It does look a little bit different. So when I look at this CAD, again, I'm gonna enlarge it for the folks at home, and for my own old man eyes. It almost looks. Are you using one flywheel or 2 flywheels?
we're using one flywheel.
One flywheel. That's what I thought. Look, it's in my notes, Nathaniel. I saw the CAD and I said one flywheel ? So for those of you at home that might not know, for the newer teams, I mean UT might not even heckin' know. They may have just come up with this like descended clairvoyant into their brains at nighttime while they thought about RoboMasters
3 a.m.
at
thought,
sleep.
yes.
That's right. But I believe it's TDT, one of the top Chinese teams, whose drone only has one flywheel.
I did see that this year. That's true.
They've been. It's a diagram that floats around A&M's team Discord every year. It'll pop up at some point, and they'll be like, "Whoa! Did you know this top drone like only uses one flywheel? That's poggers." And our team, to be honest with you, has never even entertained the thought. We look at the picture, we see the cross sectional diagram. It always has Chinese labels. We get someone to translate it. It's not super helpful, and we say, "Hey, that's cool, but ours works." So tell me a little bit about the one flywheel design, and kind of, I mean, how did y'all end up there? Because 2 flywheels is, baseball fast pitch machine, softball slow pitch machine, football throwing machine, stinking like the new Nerf blasters. Have you seen the new Nerf blasters?
Yep.
They literally shoot RoboMasters projectiles. Anywho, I'm off topic, but everything is double flywheel. What led y'all to single?
Multiple reasons. Single was a very conscious design choice on multiple fronts for us. First of all, we're poor, so we didn't want to. If we had 2 SAM motors on there, that's just more money we have to.
Hey, if anyone from
account
A&M
for
is
it.
listening, did you hear that? Did you hear the solution to a motor shortage? All right, sorry, keep going, UT. Keep talking. Well, inside joke for like the 0 A&M students that come and listen to my podcast, and then later this week they'll be like, "Preston, what can we do? We're missing motors." And I'll be like, "Exposed. I know you weren't there." All right, so it does save you a motor. It also saves you a flywheel, which
It
I know
does.
from experience can be hard as heck to source.
Indeed.
Yeah, that took us. How many months did it take to come in? Yuki, it was like 2 months.
Everything. So the flywheel.
Everything took like 2 or 3 months to come in, but
Flywheel. It's the snail motor itself came pretty quickly.
Mhm.
The flywheel took forever, and we ordered it from Virginia Tech. And then the motor controllers. That's the real problem.
I love that you just slipped that in there, like they're a company.
Shout out to Virginia Tech for
Shout out to
slowing
Virginia
it
Tech.
down.
We ordered the flywheels from Virginia Tech.
You know, we've
That's
had so much help from like so many different universities.
No, it's great. Yeah, I love the
Yeah.
North American RoboMasters community for that. And we've done it as well. Our first year we showed up and our hero didn't have flywheels, and it was either Virginia Tech or UW that gave us some flywheels for our original hero, and we kept those things.
We still have them.
We still have them. We never gave them back. But yeah, so for those of you who may not know, if you can't buy them from VT, you get those flywheels from China, and they're really hard to get, and the shipping is just astronomically expensive. And so we've had problems in the past where I don't know who I want to blame this on. I'm a hardware member. So we've had problems in the past where our coders will spin up the flywheels just haphazardly, and to no fault of the hardware people, they'll ruin the flywheels. And then we need more, and so this year we ordered like 1 billion of them. That way we can have lots of extra flywheels just in case. But
Do you guys have any spares for competition by chance? Like, are you gonna
we
be able
have
to?
one.
We've got 2.
Well, the one we have right now, one of the what's it called? One of the screw holes is already stripped. And that's because we had the compression too high, and so all the force was just going into that one, that I guess the lowest mounting hole on the cell motor, and it strips the threads inside. So, yeah. But we have 2 other motors, and yeah.
yeah, it does look like you're using. Are you using a 3508 for your pitch?
We are, yeah.
Huh.
How's that working out for y'all?
We don't have it built yet. That's how it's going.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Well, we have the CAD.
Yeah.
It should theoretically work.
What are you using for yaw? I mean, I know the motor's not in the CAD, I think, but what
Motor,
is
the
it?
motor, we're using a 6020.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
And that's kind of hidden inside the shell.
Okay.
A wonderful little team called, you probably haven't heard of, A&M lent us one.
Oh.
Thank you.
I wonder who did
Yes.
that.
No problem. No
Okay.
problem.
Cool.
We have a table of burnt out 6020s. Anywho, A&M's having lots of fun motor experiences. We might have to have an A&M member on here to interview. That way I can objectively poke fun at our own
We can
crying,
poke and shame
sad
our own
clown
team.
issues.
Yes.
Yeah. Other than that, just things that stuck out to me in the CAD. It looks like this is a direct drive, no suspension. Is that right?
We chose to go no suspension because we were looking at the I guess the playing field.
Yep.
Realized it's just flat.
Yep.
And we kind of thought to ourselves like, most like RoboMasters team probably have the suspension for like the 7v7 where there's like terrain and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And when we were thinking about like a flat playing ground, I guess the most significant terrain we'd come across would be like the balls, which
Yeah.
wouldn't be too much of an issue. And also back to like money and experience.
Yeah.
None of us really had the experience of designing a suspension drivetrain, and we weren't sure if we had the money to,
Sure.
I guess, fabricate one or prototype one. So we decided to be simpler, more straightforward, to just go with a direct drive, something we've all done before in like FTC, FRC, VEX in high school.
Yeah.
So basically just all reliable.
I think that was a great design choice, personally. I think
Yep.
that was great, especially for that small 1v1 field. It's perfect.
A+. Exactly everything you said. If we've got some new teams that are listening in or watch the video later on YouTube, I know I promised the last one would be uploaded to YouTube. Yibo and I are fixing things, okay? Password-wise. So this one will be up on YouTube, so will the other one. You can watch them back, make your teams watch them to get all this good info. But amen, 100% agree. For RMUL, suspension is not necessary. It's not checked in the pre-match in the pre-match check, it's not a requirement.
Yeah.
So for these newer teams, and even maybe for the older teams, if you want to be extra competitive, because your suspension is going to eat into your efficiency a little bit, especially if your pitch PID isn't like phenomenal. Because you'll see some of the teams that have really good torque in their drivetrains. You'll see the chassis pitch up and down when they go and stop.
Yeah.
And then you're just putting more pressure on the pitch of your pitch control feedback to actually stay stable, so that you can be shooting while you're trying to move quite abruptly, right? That whole duck and weave thing, kind of hard to do when you're also trying to aim well. Very cool, very, very cool. Thank you for walking us through your hardware stuff. I know you're a mechanical member. Needs to step out. It is 7:30. But we're gonna carry on, talk a little bit more about the software, what's under the shell, and then a little bit more just about y'all's RoboMaster experience. But thank you so much for joining us. And
See you later.
So software-wise, Nathaniel and I have already expressed to you that we're both more of hardware people. Aren't you actually like an electrical engineering major?
I am in electrical engineering, and my software knowledge is limited in what I pick up from other members.
All right, and y'all are both ESEN, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're both EC.
Okay, very cool, very cool. So are y'all doing the coding as well?
Yeah, for at least the time being. It's funny because I think Yuki, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're both group hardware people in first. I did hardware back in FRC. I think you did hardware FTC maybe.
Yeah, I did hardware FTC.
So yeah, it's kind of all new.
Yeah, we're both coming into this blind.
That's
Yeah, we've been working a lot on the code, and then electrical is something we've been kind of putting off because not everything's built yet, but
right.
we're gonna have to hit that once we get there. So
And we've got some people in the chat saying I should just interview Nathaniel. Guys, that interview would be hilarious, but it wouldn't go over well. Okay?
It would not go over well.
And kind of to the previous point about suspension, right? That first year suspension is not a necessity. Yes, I understand wiring your robot is a must. But as far as like the actual like electrical engineering of the robot, as long as you've ensured you're not frying anything, that first year you can get away with a little bit more plug-and-play compatibility. I did a lot of the wiring my first year, and I would not trust myself to do the stuff we're doing this year.
I mean, as long as you can keep all of your wires from like shorting the ground, or you stay within your power limits, you're pretty much good, and that's all you need. And I think that's okay to disregard for the next couple of weeks at least.
Yeah. For that first competition, for the newer teams that might be tuning in, or any A&M students that are tuning in, and you've been assigned by Sid to work on, or you've been assigned by Kirby to work on the electrical systems, and you want to give up. It's okay if you give up. It's not that big of a deal. But sarcasm, A&M. Don't give up. Don't quit. You got it. But yeah, that first year, you probably... Are y'all putting like a slip ring on your turret?
Trying to.
yeah,
Ooh,
the plan is.
here I was about to say, first year you're probably not doing a slip ring. You're probably not doing super caps. Are y'all doing super caps?
Oh,
No,
Okay,
we're not
cool.
touching
Yeah,
super
cool.
Good plan.
Good plan. So those first years, it is a little bit less, hey, our robot might explode with the electrical wiring, which is nice. So,
It's always
very
a plus.
cool. Code-wise, so I'll just share anecdotally our experience. So as a founding member of A&M team, the first year code-wise, our coding, like I said, we started very mechanical, right? So we had like 2 members on our team that were focused on the code. And they started with like a copy of DJI's code for the standard that you could buy from DJI. But it was, all the comments were in Chinese. And like a lot of the code itself was in Chinese. And when they tried to compile for the first time, it had like 25,000 errors, literally. And so they spent like 8 months trying to fix that code instead of just writing their own code, because there was just 2 of them and they were really nervous. It was a whole mess. We ended up having to like design our robot to have the same motors, do the same functions as DJI's robot. That way the code could be more easily implemented onto our robot without having to change anything.
Yeah. It's a mess.
But y'all are already shooting, which is a good place, right? Because once the thing can shoot, now largely you just have to make it drive. So code-wise, how's life? How's it going? It's April, right? You've got about 2 months. Are you feeling good? Are you feeling nervous?
So,
Oh no, go ahead.
go ahead.
All right. No.
How do you go?
All right. So we spent about like probably a good 3 months at the start of the school year just trying to figure out the DJI code, the example code they give you.
Yeah.
And then like we tried going through all the tutorials, translating the entire manual from Chinese into English.
Yep.
Not a good idea.
Yep.
And then after break, we kind of just gave up, and then we started trying to implement the Taproot libraries instead from UW. And that's been a lot more helpful because when anything goes wrong, you just kind of ask them, and at least they know what they're doing. So recently, code's been moving along actually quite
Good.
well, I would say. We've made a lot of progress, I would say, in the last month. Obviously, shooter code is working fine. Chassis code is almost done, I would guess. I would say there's a little bit of testing we still got to do, in like real-world testing, but in theory, it all works.
Yeah,
So-
we're waiting for mechanical to finish chassis. But theoretically, everything should work.
Yeah, been there. Still there.
I think that's where our team currently is with a couple of our robots.
Yeah.
Standard.
I'm really glad that Taproot has helped y'all out. It's definitely helped us out too. And massive shout out to University of Washington, them setting up all of Taproot. That's been a massive help to the RoboMasters community.
Good
Yeah.
stuff. Good stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Glad software's moving along so fast.
Yeah, we tried to touch like the HAL stuff. That terrible idea.
That stuff's rough. Yeah. And then I guess computer vision is in the mind, is what I'm hearing.
We've got a couple CS kids who are very interested,
Okay.
and they have some experience from FRC and FTC. So now it's kind of just about like getting that kind of started. But also it's not something that we want to focus on this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I mean, I'm a mechanical lead, okay, but in every leadership vote, I've usually gone with, maybe we don't really need CV at this point. For the Sentry, obviously, you know, it's a must. And our Sentry did really well last year, and I'm really proud of our computer vision team. But locally, right, in like the North America international sense, not China, everywhere except for China, so far, what I've seen with the standards and the heroes is that typically, if you can get the robot done and it has smooth PID control of your pitch and your yaw, you're hitting a similar percentage of shots to if you're using computer vision out of like a standard or a hero.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is exactly the opposite case for Sentry. It's a must there for the Sentry to be aggressive. But for Sentry, for new teams, I've always just pitched, you know, get a milk crate and strap it to the rail. Like, it just needs to exist.
Just gotta be on there.
I'm still so embarrassed that our first year it didn't exist. Yeah. So Nathaniel was spreading nasty rumors when we started. So just to clarify, are y'all competing in the 1v1 this year? You're doing the 3v3 and the 1v1. You're about to show up with the coolest drone ever and compete in all the competitions and the technical challenges. What's your plan?
We are really hoping to be able to compete in 3v3.
Heck yeah.
That is currently the plan.
I rescind everything I said about doing that. I rescind all of it.
No, I think we're still going to do 1v1 just, you know, for that extra practice. But hopefully, we'll be able to do 3v3.
Well, and 1v1 is really nice. It's a format that, sadly, we don't commentate and we don't stream as much because they're happening simultaneously. And maybe I'm biased because I built the standard, so I love to see the standard only comp. But not only does it provide a great entry level for teams that are like, yo, we can't afford 3 robots right now, but it also gives y'all a chance to prove, kind of, to show the full potential of your team that first year out of the gate, right? Like, that first year, you're probably not going to have great computer vision, so your Sentry probably isn't going to be phenomenal. So, like, getting second place or first place in 3v3 would be a Cinderella story, right? Like, you just have to be acing the other team every 2 minutes to be able to make an advance, right? And their Sentry would have to, like, break and whatever. I UW Sentry has 2 turrets this year, so like it could fight both of your robots at the same time. So, but in the 1v1 though, right, the difference between a top team standard and a first year team standard is relatively small. That gap can easily be closed by strategy, by some luck, and a lot of driver skill. Whereas in the 3v3, right, if you've got a large time advantage in the 3v3, it's not quite as doable. So I'm glad y'all are competing in both. That's definitely the optimal solution.
I'm really excited that you guys are able to do that. That's huge. That's
big hype,
especially for a first year. That's amazing.
So and if I ever ask a question and you're like, Preston, that's too much information, it's a secret. You can just tell me. But so for your hero, are you going to build a second standard, or are you going to build like a different robot? Because you can build a standard and just call it a hero. It's legal.
And you're also just able to put a standard on the field, and it'll be bot 3 and 4. Like, that's also allowed.
Yeah, you just field 2 standards and a sentry.
I think at this point in the season, we're probably gonna do the double standard approach.
Very cool.
I mean, obviously at the start of the year, the goal was a hero, but time is definitely an issue. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, so it's pretty common. Even when I watched the RMUL streams from last year in China, that they have 2 standards and a sentry for a lot of the even the top tier teams.
Look, hear me out. You said you had an extra flywheel. All right. Just for the showmanship, here's what you do. You take your sentry. You take the standard turret. It's already there. You mount it on top. Nothing says it has to go on the bottom, okay? It's not a rule, I don't think. I don't think it's a rule.
It's not a rule.
Yeah, there's teams in RMUC that do top and bottom. Okay, so you don't have to rebuild your turret at all. Just stick the thing on top, okay? Stick it on top of the sentry. Then just write some code that says, like, Sid's in the chat. Sid, codify this. But basically just have it say, if sentry health not equal to full, then brrr, and just fire, right? Then just go burr. And just, as soon as the thing starts taking damage, just have it start spraying everywhere, you know? And
you'll hit one thing. You'll hit something.
You'll hit eventually.
You'll scare the heck out of them. Nathaniel and I have both been drivers, and I'll tell you that fear is definitely a powerful tool in the RoboMaster's strategy. If you could just start vomiting projectiles that way, most drivers aren't gonna have the like calm and collectedness to be looking at their health and being like, I'm not actually taking damage, and just stand there. Most of them are going to say, oh my gosh, I'm getting shot at, and drive away. So just my 2 cents, if you've got the extra flywheel, if you've got the extra motor, just stick a turret on the sentry, and as soon as it gets hurt, just goes and just dump 500 projectiles in front of it. And as long as your team knows that, and as long as nobody else listens to this podcast, so nobody else teams knows that, then, you know, for the first match, you're good to go.
I'm sure John on our team is currently shaking his head right now for strategy.
It's a strategy team lead.
I got another question for y'all. So what's been the most surprising aspect of RoboMasters that you guys have encountered so far? Whether it be like dealing with the hardware or just the semantics of the competition, all of the rules. What's the
quizzes?
The quizzes. That's coming up. What's been the most surprising thing for y'all?
I would say, like, coming from FRC, it's how, like, little documentation there is. Or, like, helpful documentation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, in FRC, you live with, like, you have all of your docs you ever need. Pretty much you can build a robot. I wouldn't say with instructions, but, like, it almost, like, handholds you step by step through it. Once you get to RoboMasters, half the manuals just aren't helpful. The other half is super confusing. So it's a really, like, big shift that I think a lot of us have to get used to.
You don't have the fancy calculators with the multi-sheet Excel sheets. Yeah, that's...
Sid would like to validate your struggle in the chat. This big true.
Yeah, everything's in Chinese. It took us, like, 2 hours to find documentation about how to turn the motors on. Not the motor, sorry, the battery on.
That'll get you.
I'm glad we have a video for that now. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's great.
The DJI hardware can be can be really hard sometimes.
Stephen says, or when the manual is wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of, like Sid is saying, that's why biggest reason for people writing their own code bases or just completely abandoning all of the documented code is just it's hard to follow initially. So also it's just more fun to do it yourself. Am I right?
Yeah, super fun. Chat, if you have any questions for the University of Texas, we're really grateful to them for giving us some of their time. This is very valuable time, 2 months before the competition. So if you have any questions for them, things you want to ask, throw it in the chat real quick. Otherwise, in the next 5-10 minutes, we'll start wrapping things up and let the students go home and enjoy the last 25 hours of weekend.
Oh man, you just reminded me of all the homework that I gotta do. Yeah.
It's there. It waited for you. It waited for you so nicely.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got Steven in the chat wants to know what you're most excited for RMUL.
First kid, so I miss without like COVID hit and we missed all of our like competitions and world champs and stuff. I just miss robotics in general, and I'm really excited that we finally get to do it again.
It will definitely be a very hype. There will be a lot of hyped up energy in that room. It'll be great.
Have y'all watched any of the matches? RMUL, RMUC. Have y'all watched any of like the previous year's stuff?
I've taken a look at the RMUL North America stuff from last year.
Cool.
Looked a little bit into the competition in China, but honestly, not too much, I'd say. I don't know about you, Eddie.
Well, I wouldn't say a lot. We've definitely watched a couple of the highlights from last year, especially just playoff like finals matches we've seen. There's a couple of photos on the website that were actually low-key kind of helpful. I'm not gonna lie, just for reference, because we came in like completely blind on like what to do, right? So it was nice having like a reference like, hey, what are other teams doing? What's the general meta? How does it usually go? So it was definitely helpful.
I'll let you in on a little secret, and this may or may not be widely known by all the other teams, but the forums that they have, they are in Chinese, but there are forums from RoboMasters that every team is encouraged to open source all of their stuff from the last year. And if you have, I think the big issue is getting a Pan Baidu account, but you can download open source documentation of all of the teams on those forums, and the hardest part is just getting access, but it does exist. So I'm glad the photos were able to help. We definitely have looked at photos before of other teams and said, oh yeah, yep, we're doing that. We're doing that.
Yeah, it was one of the neat things about commentating for RMUC this year is I had the opportunity to watch like 36 hours of RoboMasters content straight in like 3 days. And it was really hype. I'm super hyped for our competition and stuff. But also, yeah, I got to see a lot of designs that were new, that were novel, especially in the teams that didn't make it to finals.
Yeah.
Because finals, yeah, like you get to see the current meta, and you're like, dang, that's what works, that's what wins. But in the lower, I can't even really say lower, there's like 300 teams in China that compete. In the bottom of the top 75 teams, you get some really crazy, innovative designs with, especially the engineer robots are really crazy. You get some, like I said, there are some sentries that are top bottom, they're double bottom, I don't think we saw any double top.
We don't see any.
We saw some single barreled. We saw AI standards, just all sorts of stuff. We didn't see any balancing in the top 75 teams, but definitely a really interesting way to and a great way to prepare for our own RoboMasters competitions.
It's also just fun to hang out and watch the videos and say, oh.
Yeah, I think our team has like a group going to watch an FRC event in the 23rd or something. Someone invited me, but I'm going to see the LCS. So our team has the same sentiment. You know, they just miss robotics. They're excited for our own competition. Our team is also hosting a BattleBots competition in May, on May 21st, with like a 3 pound,
1
pound, and 150 grams. So I'll be streaming that too. It'll be cool. But, you know, it's just our team is really interested in having as many robotics events as we can. And I know you said your group actually does lots of different robotics competitions and stuff, and not just RoboMasters. So that's pretty neat. So speaking of China, is that something that's on y'all's horizon as a team, kind of like team culture, team idea? Right now, are y'all mainly going to focus next 3 years on RMUL, or are you biting at the chomp? Are you expecting next year to try and raise the funds to get 7 robots and travel to China, or 4 robots and travel to China?
I think, like you said, the biggest part definitely is just budget.
Yeah.
For some reason, Texas is really stingy with like giving us money. Come on, guys! I know you guys are rich. Please, anything. But if we do have the money for it, it would be amazing. Obviously, current climate might make it kind of difficult to travel.
Yeah.
But as an end goal, definitely it would be the 7v7 definitely is a lot more grand than 1v1 or the 3v3. So it would be really cool to
It's
go.
crazy hype. I'm hoping we
Yeah.
go next year as well.
I'm also hoping.
I know most teams are hoping, and everyone around the world is just hoping that COVID goes away or stops being prohibitive. I know it's not going to go away, but like stops being oppressively present.
Yeah.
So that would be nice for sure. 10 out of 10, I agree.
Yeah, I hope one day we will get there. But another reason I really want to go to the 7v7 competition is because there's one live stream I watched, and I think they were talking about you guys. I think this is 2019, and they're like, "Oh, I wonder if UT will ever like have
Yeah,
a RoboMaster team."
I know
Yeah.
exactly that clip.
It's because Doss is from Texas. Actually.
Yeah.
He may have.
Doss and Baron were both.
Yeah.
They were watching us compete, and they were wondering if UT would ever show up. And I think Doss, he was wearing an A&M hat. I think he's from A&M. I thought he graduated from A&M. I might be saying not
I
true
don't
things.
think he graduated from A&M, but he
doesn't
is
know
from
about it.
Texas.
He is from
Can
Texas.
confirm. Speaking of things that are in Texas, and the last point that I want to bring up, did you go to the Cyber Rodeo this week and try to get Elon to fund your team?
Personally, no, I didn't show up. My roommate actually went, I believe, because
There we
he's
go.
Your
Oh,
roommate got
into-
invited?
No, I think he showed up. I think LHR. We have Longhorn Racing at our school as well, and I think they maybe had a couple spots to go because it's like a
Wow.
giant
That's
organization
super
at our
cool.
school.
That's
So I think
cool.
he actually went.
Heck yeah, dude.
Yeah, there were 15,000 invitations, and that's cool that he got one.
That's how y'all get to China. Just get Elon to sponsor you.
Lawn money.
Yeah.
Elon money. There you go. There you go.
He might pay you in Dogecoin though. That'll work. Just to the moon. And
To the moon.
And then you'll be just
Yeah.
fine. But very cool. Thank you so much for joining us. Chat, if there's no other questions, we'll start wrapping things up. And probably this will get posted to YouTube pretty soon. Unless I forgot to hit start recording. But we live and we learn. We'll see what happens. But thank y'all so much for being here. Thanks for competing this year. We're really excited to have y'all in June. If you've got any BattleBots that want to come in May, cool. And please continue to. I'm so glad you found all the forums really helpful. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for having us.
Of course.
All right, fam. So we will be back supposedly next week. China RMUL starts. It got rescheduled because of COVID. Again, it got delayed. It's supposed to start next weekend. We'll be here bringing a couple hours of the games, of the matches, so we can all start looking at the robots, observing the meta, see what's happening. And then we've got some interviews with RHIT coming up, which is going to be hype.
That'll happen on the 23rd, but you'll get to hear from all of their very few members and see how they're doing.
Hey. And then, like I said, we'll also be streaming, we'll be commentating a BattleBots event coming up here in May. And I'm planning on having a kind of RoboMasters informational that our podcast does that you can share with your friends and your family to kind of get them prepped and hyped for June. Kind of get everyone familiar on the jargon, what the heck you've been doing with your life for the last year. We'll show all the different robots, explain the different combat formats that will be going on, and just kind of introduce everyone, get everybody prepped for that. So get hyped in the chat for that. Make sure you've punched the subscribe button. Make sure you bug your teams about watching these so that you're all on the same page. You get all of this information. I think every time so far there's been at least a couple pieces of of information that are pretty key. So
keep promoting the competition. We want to see so many people in the stream. We want people to watch this when it comes around on June 24th, 25th, and 26th.
Yep. It really does take so few people. Every time we've interacted with the new team, we ask them how they started. And our team the same way. It's just like one person that heard about RoboMasters, thought it was really cool, boom, it started. So share it with everybody that you know, get them all to watch, and hopefully we can keep growing the North American region. All right. Y'all have a good night.
Thanks, guys.